Fresh or eat them dried or put them in an apple pie.
Hello everybody, hello children, welcome to this online field trip. I'm Sam and today we're in Kent, which is in the southeast of England. We're here to learn all about a wintry food. Now the food we're going to learn about today is only available fresh this time of year and is often a big part of what we eat around Christmas time. Of course, I'm talking about cranberries. Now the reason why we're here in Kent is this is where the pack house is. This is where the cranberries are put into punnets, ready to go to your local store. And as you can see behind us, this is what's happening now. They're sorting through the cranberries, making sure that they're nice, fresh, juicy ones, none are damaged before they're put into punnets. All the cranberries you see here in the pack house aren't grown here in Kent. They're in fact grown all the way over in the United States of America in Cape Cod, which is where our guide for today comes from. This is Patrick. Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited.
I think the children are probably thinking, oh, there's a bit of a strange accent there. You've got the American accent. So where is Cape Cod in America?
So Cape Cod is in Massachusetts, actually just about an hour south of Boston and just about 15 minutes away from Plymouth, which is where the Pilgrims originally landed in America.
Fantastic. So how long would it have taken you to get here?
It took me about 6 hours on the plane and then another hour or two on trains to get down here to Kent.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I hope you're going to enjoy yourself while you're here in England.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Great. We also have another expert guide with us today. We have James, who's a chef. What are you going to be doing for us today, James?
Hi, I'm going to be making today some homemade cranberry juice. We are also going to make some homemade cranberry sauce, and I'm also going to show you a little trick which you can use to make some muffins as well.
Can't wait. Thank you so much, James. So we'll be checking in with James throughout the course of this online field trip. And what are we going to find out today from you?
So today, we're going to learn a little bit about how we actually grow cranberries back in Cape Cod. We're going to learn a little bit about how they come from Cape Cod all the way over here, and also what you can do with them.
Fantastic. So we're going to see the whole process. It's really exciting, this one. Let's find out who we have joining us today then. So let's go over to our first school, go over to John Henry Newman Academy, where Miss Welton's class is taking part in Oxford. Hello, children. Hello. Let's go over to All Saints School now, where Mrs. Webb's class is taking part in Barry. Let's go over to Cornish Park now, where Miss O'Neill's class is taking part in Flint. And finally, let's go over to Charlton Manor Primary School, where Miss Pease's class is taking part in London. Hey, children.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Right, it's really great to have you all watching and learning with us today. It really is going to be an exciting field trip. I think, first of all, we should find out from Patrick a bit more about himself and the cranberries as well. So, Patrick, how long have you been growing cranberries for?
I've actually been growing cranberries my whole life. I was born into it. My father did it, and it's been in my family for a long time. I'm actually the fourth generation, so it's been passed down from generation to generation.
Wow. And so how many cranberries would you grow each year, say?
A lot. Almost 2 million kilos.
Wow, that's a lot of cranberries.
Yeah, it is a lot of cranberries.
So how do cranberries grow?
So cranberries are going to grow in a sandy bog. They grow on a low-laying vine. It's not actually a bush or a tree or anything like that. It's just a small vine that grows on that bog.
Wow, it's amazing. So what kind of climate would they need to flourish?
So it's going to be a little bit cold in the spring, and then it's going to warm up in the summer, and it's going to be a nice warm summer, and then again in the fall it's going to be cold again.
Great, okay. And as we have already said, all the cranberries here in the pack house have come from your farm in Cape Cod, but where else do cranberries grow?
Cranberries grow in a few different countries. About 97% of the cranberries are actually grown in North America, so that would be the United States and Canada. Cranberries do also grow in countries like Chile, and you can even find them wild here in England as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I literally learned an amazing fact this week, and that was the fact that cranberries used to be a wild berry, a wild fruit that used to be grown across England and Wales. So, and I guess now if we're kind of walking out with our parents, taking a little look around, we could maybe find some cranberries.
Yes, absolutely. You could probably find some cranberries, if you look hard enough.
Oh, that's great. It's really fascinating. So I'm not the only one that's been learning about cranberries this week, though. I know our schools have already learned a lot, so let's put our schools to the test. Let's head over to John Henry Newman Academy to see if anybody has any facts over there.
Hi, my name's Eamon. My fact is, in the wild, cranberries grow in bogs.
So cranberries grow in bogs. That's a great fact.
That is true, yes. Many people don't know that, actually.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I've just learnt that. What a great fact, and thank you for teaching me something, children. And do we have another fact from John Henry Newman Academy?
Hi, my name's Damien. My fact is, cranberries can float.
That's a really great fact. So cranberries can float.
Yes, actually, they do float. That's one of the two ways that we actually harvest them.
Oh, so you put water, is it flooded? The
Yes,
water
it's
then?
very interesting because they grow dry all year long. Some people think that they're underwater, but we do actually, one of the two ways to harvest them is to flood up the bog and then release them from the vine and they'll all float to the top.
Oh, wow.
And we can,
and what do you
collect
do? Do you
them
get a big net to scoop them
Yes,
all
we
up?
use a big rack, and we use that to just collect the cranberries, and then we pump them into a truck. They go onto a truck into our pack house, and then across the ocean there, and then they end up here.
That's
crazy.
amazing. It's such fun. What a fun way of picking something. That's really good. Great fact. Let's get another one from John Henry Newman.
My name's Rosie, and my fact is that cranberries grow in wet places like Oxford, England.
That's fantastic. So cranberries grow in wet places, like England. Perfect.
Yeah, actually, yes, they do. Yep.
That's great. Are you impressed with what our class have learned so far?
I'm very impressed, actually. They know more than most people.
It's time to learn more about cranberries now. This is our first video, all about how cranberries grow.
How do cranberries grow? Cranberries are a fruit that grows on vines on boggy marshes. They are harvested from September to November. In this country, we often eat them during winter celebrations, such as Christmas. They're also an important fruit for celebrating a festival called Thanksgiving in Canada and the United States of America, where they grow 97% of the world's crop of cranberries. Cranberries don't grow from seeds. Instead, new plants are grown from cutting a piece of stem and leaf from an older plant. This is called propagation. The cuttings are put into the soil, and soon they grow roots of their own and become baby cranberry plants. Cranberry plants can grow and bear fruit for many years. There are some cranberry plants in Wisconsin in the US that are 70 years old. Another place known for growing cranberries is Cape Cod in Massachusetts. Here, they plant new baby plants out in the fields each April. The plants like the ground to be really wet, acidic and sandy. They don't need lots of nutrients or fertiliser like some crops. The small pink flowers that form on the plants in June are where cranberries get their name from. Early European settlers in North America thought that the flowers looked like a crane's bill, so they called them cranberries. Once the bees have pollinated the flowers, the berries begin to form. They are white to start with, but slowly change to be bright crimson red. In September, it's time to start the harvest. In this field alone, there are more than 20 million berries ready to be picked and packed. There are two ways to harvest cranberries: dry harvesting and wet harvesting. These machines are dry harvesting the cranberries very carefully so they don't get damaged. When these crates are full, they weigh 400 kilograms each. That's the same weight as an adult female brown bear. They are lifted onto the back of a lorry by helicopter, because a tractor driving through the field would crush the plants. Next, they are taken to the pack house for processing. For the wet harvest, this field has been flooded full of water. Then this machine loosens the berries so that they float to the top. The floating berries are gathered at the edge of the flooded field. Now the berries are being sucked up using these underwater pipes. The workers use the rakes to gently push the berries towards the pipe. Finally, they are washed, before a conveyor belt transports them into a waiting lorry. These cranberries will be used to make juice and dried cranberries. Meanwhile, the dry harvested cranberries are washed and packed into these large crates, ready for the next stage of their journey to your Christmas dinner plate.
So now we know how the cranberries get from Patrick's farm in Cape Cod all the way over here to Kent. It's pretty good, isn't it? Now we've moved over to James to find out how he's getting on. And James is going to make us a cranberry juice, aren't you?
Yeah, now you can buy cranberry juice in a carton at the supermarket, but you might have wondered, how does it turn from one of those into a glass like that? So we thought we'd give you a little sneak peek.
Great.
So you need 3 ingredients. 2 I've got in this pan. The first ingredient is 600 grams of cranberries. And the other ingredient is plain old water. And these have been boiling away until they burst. So they're going to look a little bit paler.
Wow. So all that is boiled cranberries at the moment?
That is boiled cranberries and water.
Great.
Okay. Now, it's quite important, before you blend your mixture, that you let it go really, really cold. Because if you blend it when it's hot, it's really dangerous. And if you're going to use a blender like this, make sure you put the lid on. Because you will not be popular at home if you turn your mother's ceiling cranberry coloured. So, what I would have done, I've put some cranberries in here, but I've already blended them here. Now, this is just a colander or a sieve, and I've lined it with muslin, which is a type of cloth, and that's going to stop all the bits going through to our juice. Okay? So, under here in my bowl is the juice that we've created from boiling up and blending those cranberries.
So you blend that for a few seconds and then you tip it through.
Exactly.
All of the bits that you don't want is there.
So that's all there, and I'm going to show you a little sneaky trick with that later on.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we could drink that, but it's very, very bitter. Cranberries are quite sharp and quite bitter, and you want to add some sweetener. Now, if you buy it in the shop, quite often it's got quite a lot of sugar in. And so for this amount of juice, you'd need that much sugar.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so it's quite a lot. And we know we don't want to eat too much sugar because it's not good for our teeth and it's not good for our health. Okay, so instead, what we're going to use is just plain old apple juice.
Okay, great. Okay? That's a great way of sweetening it.
So that's got a natural sweetness in it, and we're going to use that instead. So I'm going to use half apple juice, and there's some cranberry juice that I've made before.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, so I'm going to put half apple juice, half cranberry juice. You can make it slightly different. If you like it a little bit sweeter, you might want to put a little bit more apple juice.
Okay.
If you like it a little bit more sharp, you might want to add a little bit more cranberry.
Great, you can play around with it. Great, I've got some to try.
There we go, chaps.
Lovely. Cheers, cheers, Patrick. Great to have you all the way from Cape Cod.
That's great.
That is amazing.
Is it authentic?
Yeah.
I've got the grower.
Yeah.
it just tastes very fresh and
Yeah,
really good for
it
you
does,
as
it
well.
does.
Oh, that's so good, children. Very, very nice indeed. You might want to try that with the punnets of cranberries that you have in your classroom. I think we're learning so much. I think we should get some questions now, see if any of our schools have questions. So first of all, let's go over to All Saints School and see if Mrs. Webb's class have any questions.
How long do cranberries have to stay on their stalk?
Well, a really good question. So, Patrick, how long do cranberries have to stay on their stalk?
So yeah, cranberries are going to stay on their stalk from about June until they're harvested. They can be harvested anytime from September almost into November actually as well, so all the way through October.
Okay, great. That's a really good question. Let's get another one from All Saints School.
How big do cranberries grow?
Oh, how big do cranberries grow, Patrick?
So cranberries come in essentially two different sizes because there's different varieties of cranberries. Some are a little bit larger than others, but the size difference isn't too much. In general, a cranberry is not going to be any bigger than, say, a grape, but a little bit bigger than a blueberry. So it's about that big.
Okay, so you can't just leave it on the stalk and it would grow and grow and grow. It would just, I guess, die if you didn't
it would
pick it.
stop growing, yeah.
Okay, that's a really good question. Let's get another one from All Saints School.
Is the name cranberry named after the bird or the flower?
So, Patrick, do you know this one? Was the name cranberry named after a bird or a flower?
Actually, I've heard a couple different variations, but I have heard that it's named after the crane, which is a bird that's native to North America. And years and years and years ago, it was associated with the cranberry.
Wow, what a fascinating fact. That's so good. Let's get one last question from All Saints School.
What months do cranberries grow and when do they stop growing?
Great question. So what month do cranberries start growing and when do they stop growing?
Yep, so they're going to start as early as April, actually. And then in June they'll flower, and then they'll continue to grow as a small berry. And they'll start out a bit green or white and slowly turn red. And then in September and October and just a little bit of November, they'll be ready to harvest.
Fantastic. Great questions, All Saints School. Cornice Park and Charlton Manor Primary will have an opportunity for you to ask Patrick some questions later on. It's time for another video now, and this is all about what happens to the cranberries when they arrive in the UK.
Cranberries, from processing to packaging. The cranberries that have been freshly picked at Edgewood Boggs Farm in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, make their way across the Atlantic Ocean from the United States of America to the UK. It takes between 7 and 10 days for the ships to travel all the way across the ocean to their destination at Liverpool docks. Once they arrive, the cranberries are delivered by road to the pack house in Kent. When the berries arrive at the pack house, they are checked for quality before being put into a cold store. Once in the cold store, the berries can be kept there for up to 10 weeks. They are kept at 3.4 degrees Celsius to keep them fresh. Then, the cranberries are placed onto this conveyor belt, where they are sorted by hand to check for berries that might be damaged and not good for eating. They are then packed into punnets by hand and weighed to make sure the right amount of cranberries is inside each one. Next, the punnets travel onto this area, where they are packed together into batches. They are wrapped in film and heat sealed by this machine to make sure the fruit stays nice and fresh. It can seal up to 60 punnets every minute, which is one every second. Once they're sealed, each punnet is given a sticker. This sticker tells us the weight, the variety, and where the berries were grown. The punnets of cranberries are then placed onto packing crates. These crates are then stacked onto pallets and wrapped to protect them. Finally, the cranberries are loaded onto the delivery lorries and then taken to stores across the country for you to buy and eat with your Christmas dinner.
Isn't it incredible that the cranberries travel all the way across the sea and still look so fresh, like they were picked yesterday? We have some of those fresh cranberries in front of us now. But Patrick, we have some other types of food that cranberries are made from as well, don't we, over here?
Yes, so over here we have a cranberry sauce, and then this here is just another type of cranberry sauce. You'll find different varieties. And we also have some cranberry juice here and some dried cranberries as well.
So how do you make dried cranberries? How do they turn into?
So dried cranberries, there's two different types. There's the sweetened type, and there's also the unsweetened type. Now, dried cranberries are made with a big machine that's gonna take all of the water right out of the cranberries, and that actually causes them to shrivel up just like this, and they'll last a little bit longer that way.
Fantastic. Yeah, you can often, they're good for snacking, aren't they? You have them in a packet and keep them with you in your bag. Now, we all know that cranberries taste good, but they are good for you too as well. They're a source of vitamin C, which is good for a healthy immune system, strong bones, healthy teeth and skin as well. And around this much, so about as much as you can fit in the palm of your hands, will act as one of your 5 fruit and vegetables a day. There we go. So we are learning so much about cranberries. I think it's time to give the other schools an opportunity to ask you some questions now, Patrick.
I love that.
So we seem to have lost Cornice Park, but I do have your questions here, children, and I know that you are watching us. We just can't communicate with you. So I'm going to ask Patrick your questions for you so you don't miss out. So Patrick, why are cranberries good for you?
Cranberries are good for you, just like you said. They're great for, things like the immune system.
Fantastic. And the other question from Cornice Park is, why is a dried cranberry, why does it taste so good? What's added to it?
Well, as I mentioned before, some are sweetened, others are not. The sweetened ones have kind of a lot of sugar in them, which is going to make them taste a little bit better because normally they're a little bit better.
Okay.
But the other cranberries that do not have sugar added are, taste about the same as a regular cranberry.
Okay, fantastic. Great questions, Cornice Park. Let's go over to Charlton Manor now, see if you have any questions for Patrick. Okay, we didn't hear the sound there, but I have a feeling it was, how does the air get inside cranberries, Patrick?
Oh, okay. So there's nothing special that's done to the cranberries, but the air is the reason why, like we talked about earlier, cranberries will float. So when cranberries grow, there's actually 4 chambers of open space inside of them, and that allows air to be in there, which makes them float.
Fantastic. Lovely. Do we have another question from Charlton Manor? Great, fantastic. So how long does it take for cranberries to grow, Patrick?
It's going to take a few months. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it starts in April, and there's different processes that it's going to go through. And each month it's doing kind of a different thing from April all the way through September and October.
Fantastic. Great questions, children. Now, when I think of cranberries, Patrick, I think of at Christmas time. I think of having a nice big portion of turkey with a big dollop of cranberry sauce on the side. But we haven't been doing it that long in the UK, eating turkey and cranberry, probably for about 50 years. And it's in fact a tradition that we've kind of stolen from North America, haven't we? It's a big celebration dinner called Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Yes, so Thanksgiving has been around in the United States for hundreds of years, actually. It started, like we said earlier, when the Pilgrims came over, and many fruits like cranberries and also some vegetables and things like that are harvested that time of year in the fall. So the Pilgrims and early settlers wanted to be able to celebrate their harvest, and that's why they came up with Thanksgiving, where they have a big feast on everything that they've harvested that year, and it also includes things like cranberries are always going to be there and turkey is always going to be there.
That's fascinating. Well, I don't know about you children, but I'm very grateful that we have managed to borrow their tradition, and we now have lovely, delicious turkey and cranberry sauce on Christmas Day. Talking of cranberry sauce, I think it's about time we checked in with our expert chef, James, because he is going to actually make some cranberry sauce for us now. So let's find out how he does that.